What does owning nothing but controlling everything really mean? Well, in my house, it means we run everything by a 3-year-old. I don't think that's what he means. Okay, sit right there. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. You heard me right. What does owning nothing but controlling everything really mean? In my household, it means my grandson runs the world. But I don't think that's what my brother Chris means. Hey, Chris, what does this mean?
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't mean run everything by your 3-year-old. Matter of fact, that would be a great way to own nothing, because if you just run everything by your 3-year-old, you're not going to have anything, because they just will take it all. I love it. That's not a bad plan. Hey, listen, you were saying, I don't think that's what I mean, but that could work. If your goal was to have nothing and own nothing, well, just get yourself a 3-year-old and just run everything by them. I like that. But that's not really what I mean. So own nothing but control everything. It's been a cliche thing that I've heard about my whole life, and I only thought that was available to the wealthy. Because you hear about the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and you hear about the Hiltons and everything else, and they don't own anything. When you really, I remember the one thing that got me, it showed me a org chart of one of the big hotel chains, and it started at the top, this company, and it said owns nothing, it hires that out. And then this next company, did all the maintenance and everything, but they owned nothing, and then they were hiring everything, and everything went down, and you're just like, what the heck? Well, that's pretty important for a big hotel, because if somebody slips and falls, and somebody wants to sue them, well, they you'd have to go a long way to figure out who owns
who owns it
for, right? So I think there's some importance in that, because many of the people that I'm sure are listening to this have assets. They have stocks, they might have mutual funds, they probably have cash in the bank, they have a house, maybe they might have a car, and maybe they own some rental real estate. Now, let's talk about rental real estate. Imagine if you owned a rental, the chances of you getting sued go up probably by, I don't know the stats, but I'm going to make it up, probably 80%. Everybody wants to sue. I live in New York. It's sue happy crazy out here. And, somebody slips and falls. I don't know, nothing you do wrong as the landlord. It's just they slip and fall going down the stairs. Maybe they had a long night the night before and just woke up a little tipsy, and then they sue you. Well, guess what? All of the assets you have, if not structured properly, can all be on the chopping block. And that is the wrong thing. So most people are like, well, you have insurance. Yeah, well, you ever been sued? Because if you say that, you've never been sued. They sue for the full amount of the insurance, and then they go after your personal assets. But, here's the goal. The goal is when they get to your personal assets, the attorney finds out, holy cow, these people have nothing. Well, how does that work? Well, let me tell you, there's a couple simple ways. Now, you could do all the trust planning, so the simplest way, the way the Rockefellers and Rothschilds, they do complex trust structures. So they got different trusts, business trust, family trust, but I'll put your audience to sleep talking about that. So let's just talk about simple ways. Why do people invest in real estate? You're laughing and you're like, thank God. Yeah.
I was worried. I got to tell you. I was like, oh gosh, is he really ready to do this?
Oh, I would never, ever do that. But I had to say it, right? Because that is a way to own nothing. You could put it all in irrevocable trust, and then you have nothing when they look at you on paper. But let's do something a little more simple. Number one, a way to protect yourself would basically be to not own the real estate, right? But people are like, well, I want to own real estate. I need the income. Great. Why do people buy rentals? Why do people buy real estate? The income. Number one reason. I want passive income is what they always say. Okay, great.
You want to make money in their sleep.
Yeah. So, I used to own a lot of real estate. How do you think I knew about all the lawsuit stuff? I've been sued so many stinking times. Not for anything we do, but that's just what happens. And then I finally got sick of it. My wife and I, after we had our TV show, we went into this phase where we started selling off all of our real estate. And when we sold off our real estate, we had some money. And I remember one of my mentors once told me he said, the ultimate in real estate is being the bank. And here's what I looked at. I started studying what banks do. because banks really what they do, they get us to give up control of our money. They take our money and send it to work for them. They're the bank, right? They lend that money out and they make a spread. So I started saying, well, how do I be the bank? And I don't want to own anything. So all I had to do was find people like I was that needed money to buy real estate. And then I would basically just lend them money. But when I lent them money, I don't own the real estate. I have zero liability with the real estate. Sure, I have some risk with the person not paying me. So what I do is I make them put me in first position on the mortgage. I mean, we've all gone through that process of getting a house and you get a mortgage. Who owns the house? You're like, well, I do. I live in the house. No. The bank might not own the house, but they control it. Make no two ways about it. You don't pay them, they're taking your house. So that is the whole. So now think about that. The bank doesn't own your house, but they control it. So I just wanted to do that. I wanted to control all the real estate. I wanted to make the money from all the real estate, but I didn't want all the headaches and I didn't want anything that I could get sued for. So I just started lending money on houses. And when I would lend money, I'd put myself in a first position. I watched Talladega Nights, and I remember Ricky Bobby's dad said, as he's getting kicked out of the school, he says, son, if you're not first, you're last. And I said, yes, sir. I got it. So I'm always going to be first position. So if they don't pay me, I get the house because I'm number one. I control that thing. But the second thing is if anything ever happens to that house, a hurricane, a tornado, a fire. Ooh. Yeah, I know bad things, but hey, let's talk about reality. Sometimes it happens. I make sure that borrower puts me on the insurance policy. Hey, the car, finance companies make them go on the insurance. Well, the bank's also on the insurance. I'm the homeowner, so I want to be on the insurance. So now if it burns or gets wiped out by a hurricane or tornado, I get paid by the insurance company. So I got none of that owning stuff. If I get sued, they can't say, well, I want that house that you're lending money on. I'm like, well, then call the guy that owns it. Like, I don't own the house. So these are just simple ways that you can literally start to own nothing, but control everything and make a bunch of money doing it by just mimicking what banks do every single day. And that's all I've done. I started selling off all my real estate because I didn't want the headaches and the liabilities. So now we only have a small portfolio, and I'd have none if I could just dump them all today. And I would just basically be the bank and control everything that I do.
Why don't they teach this stuff in school?
Well, yeah. If they tell you that's it. No, it's a valid question. Think about that.
It's like we spend so much time on stuff we never use, and our permanent school record, and then you get out and they say, okay, now you're a well-educated pawn on the chessboard. Go out there, be a pawn. You do the work. Somebody else will make the money, and you just get in debt. And welcome to America. This is what it is.
Oh my gosh!
Like, then somebody comes along like you and goes,
Yeah, well, it's interesting. It's broken. I mean, how come in schools they don't just teach kids how to do a simple budget, right? That'd be a good starting place. No, nowhere. But they learn. What is the new mathematics called that they teach? Do you even know?
Crazy.
It makes no sense.
That's what it is. It's called crazy.
Stupid. But why don't they just teach them business math and teach them how to run do a budget and balance a checkbook and maybe, hey, go crazy and teach them how to actually do some bookkeeping on a spreadsheet. That'd be monumental. But then if they started teaching you banking, then all of a sudden you'd become dangerous to the banks, which are the backbone for everything. And, if you think of the Fed, we talked about that in the beginning, the Fed runs the central banking. So they don't want you to know banking. They don't want you to know how to own nothing and control everything and do what the bank does and all this stuff I'm talking about. So they just try to keep us stupid when it comes to money so that we just keep doing stupid things like give up control of our money to the banks and to Wall Street so that other people then can make our hard-earned money go to work for them. I'm not buying it. I'm not doing it. And I hope I can help some of your audience not do that, because that's the secret sauce, is just take back control of your money, learn one or two things that you know, like, and understand, and apply that knowledge.
I mean, if I could have known this 30 years ago, how much difference, our lives would have been by just having that kind of knowledge. So, for the people that are out there watching it, I'm not saying it's too late for us, because I know it's not. For us that are, we're like 50s, 60s, 70s, it's not too late. But those 20-year-olds, hey, Stop playing video games and sucking up all the bandwidth and learn how to do this stuff so you have an amazing life. Okay, Chris, how do they get in touch with you? I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Yeah, so I got videos upon videos on this stuff, and you just go to chrisnaugle.com or go to my YouTube channel at the Chris Naugle, and you can watch all the videos, go to my webinars. But I got something special. We're talking about school, why they don't teach this. So I know we're wrapping, but I want everybody to go watch my TEDx talk that I did. The TEDx talk is called Rethink Money, a letter to my daughter. I wrote my daughter a letter. My daughter's 2.5. I wrote her a letter about how money really works. So all the things you just talked about and why they don't teach us, I told my daughter in a TEDx talk. So I want everyone here to listen to that or watch that TEDx and go apply that knowledge for your children. That's the only way, folks. It's the only way they're going to learn how money works.
Your daughter's going to rule the world by the time she's 25. But yeah, it's time for us to educate the youth because, hey, it's our world too. I love you. You're the best. I can't wait to talk to you next month.
Thank you.
Expert Talk is sponsored by Pod Nation TV, the podcast to broadcast network.
We're going to talk about self-leadership. I'm sitting here with my notepad and my pen because I know she's about to go in. So sit right there. Here we go. Y'all ready? We'll be right back.
Talking about leadership of people and leadership of this and leadership of that. My thing is you cannot lead anyone else if you can't lead this. You must be able to lead yourself. And so I train on self-leadership because we forget the first one that you must lead is you. So I have this wonderful quote that I made back when I first came out of my brain injury in 2014-ish. So 2016, I wrote this quote. Change is an emotional journey. It's not rainbows and butterflies through a field of daisies. Change is uncomfortable. It forces you to evaluate who you are. The beauty is in the possibilities. And that's where I got the whole idea of self-leadership is, yeah, change hurts, but who's in charge here? It's you. So if you want out of change, if you want to move forward, you must control yourself. Can I go into preach mode for a second?
Go ahead.
Okay. So in order to self-lead, you always hear people talk about you have to know your why. It's important. What is your why? So if you want to self-lead so you can lead other people, you need to know your why. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. And the reason that is an important quote to me is I went through a lot of surgeries and cancer and, brain injury and all these things, but I knew what my why was, what the end goal was. And it helped me push through every obstacle. So number one, you must know your why if you want to be able to self-lead. Number two, my mentor, John C. Maxwell says, leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. So who influences you? And if you aren't one of the people who influences you, you need to work on that because you need to be able to look at yourself and be confident in who you are and what you stand for and your why. And then the third is responsibility. Jim Rohn says, you must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. That's the three, in my mind, the basis of being self-led. If you don't know your why, if you can't influence yourself and you don't have personal responsibility, who are you truly leading? Lead yourself first. Who gets you out of bed every morning? You're leading someone. And I can assure you, as you walk down the street, or if you're in a grocery store and you pick up an apple and bite into it and put it back on the shelf, I can tell you somebody else sees you doing it and they're saying that's not a leader. So you are doing everything you do is leading someone that you may not even know. But number one, you must lead yourself. And my biggest thing is, if you're in a crowd and you're walking in a crowd and you're doing what the crowd is doing, step out of that crowd. One of the quotes I used for my my TEDx was, the differences between a rut and a grave are the dimensions. That's Ellen Glasgow. The differences between a rut and a grave are the dimensions. The only thing you're doing is building your dimensions of your grave. If you are following the crowd and wondering why you're not doing anything special or different, it's because you're in the crowd. And I know anyone listening to Tigo doesn't want to be in the crowd. You must step out of that rut, step out of that box you're building every day in your world, step out and make a new path. We are not records. We're not supposed to be spinning on that same thing, doing the same thing. Okay. Step out of it, make that record skip, find a new tune. And that new tune should be, I will self-lead. I will be the best version of me because someone is watching me. Even if it's a child, if it's a stranger on the subway, I don't care. You're leading someone. And at first, number one should be you.
Boys, come on, it's time to go.
Dad, I can't go right now. I'm doing show notes.
And you know it's VIP day. We're going to talk about the poison that kills dreams. You got dream killers in your life? I know I got some in my life. We're going to talk about that, so sit right there. Woo, she's about to help me today, y'all. Sit right there. We'll be right back.
The Power of Pink Summit and the Now Honors. Has moved to the downtown Las Vegas area in the famous Fremont district, bringing the most brilliant and talented women in the world. To one stage in one place, where their power will be captured for the world to see. And it is hosted by the one and only Theresa Tigo Goss. We present to you Now Honors 2023.
Hey, welcome back. Yeah, you heard me right. Miss Peggy McColl is here today. We're going to talk about dream killers and the poison that kills your dreams. I need to know about this one. Miss Peggy, are you out there?
I'm right here and ready to rock and roll.
Woo! Help me, because I got enough. I got enough poison in my life to kill a few hundred dreams. What do I do?
Well, you got to eliminate it. All right. Poison kills dreams. So what is the poison? The poison is very simply negativity. And negativity can be our own consciousness, right? The dialogue that's going on in your own mind. And that can certainly kill your dreams for sure. But outside stimuli, like other people ask me this all the time. You know, they'll say, well, I'm sleeping in the same bed with a real negative person. How do I deal with that? How do I not let them affect how I feel? Right. And I'll say to them, understand this. Nobody crawls inside, like goes through your ear or whatever, and goes down inside your tummy and causes you to feel anything. You decide. You're always in control of how you feel, always. And if you're not, if you're out of control and you're allowing somebody to cause you to feel something, understand that's your thing, right? That's your deal. It's not theirs. So, I give people suggestions, like, especially if there's negativity around. There's a couple of ways that you can handle it. One is you can imagine you have a plexiglass shield around you and just let it bounce off. It's not getting in. It's not getting in, right? It's like, during COVID, there were a lot of these plexiglass shields put up in different places, right? You can't get through. Like the virus isn't getting through. You can imagine the same thing. Negativity is not getting through. So that's one way. Another way is that if you do hear someone, maybe it's someone that's close to you, they say something negative, and they probably believe it. And what you can do is you can turn it around and send it back to them like a tennis match, right? Send it back to them, but only in a positive way. I used to do this with my mom because my mom was a very negative person and I loved her and everything, but she just, was in the habit of being negative. So I would be building my shield as I'm driving down to see her. But when she'd start, with the negativity and start complaining or whining or moaning or whatever, then I'd say, well, what's great about that? And I could see that it was sort of breaking her pattern of thought.
Wow.
What's great about that? And then she would think about it for a second and just throw the ball back going, well, there's nothing great about it. And so, sometimes that happens. But the truth is, I didn't have to get caught up in that negativity. I have to just let it go, or you can just duck and let it go by. Just duck and let it go by. Don't take it in. Just don't take it in. But I think the biggest challenge for most people is not outside stimuli or outside negativity or outside poison. It's really internal. That's where the greatest challenge is. So that's something that we can absolutely manage when we become consciously aware and we decide to saturate our mind. Like saturate your mind. Like if you came into my home, we spent some time together. Let's say we went, on a trip together and we're hanging out. I'm like a serious student, like absolutely addicted to personal development and professional development. I'm studying all the time. I have books going. I buy them in Audible. I buy them in print form. I'm studying. I go to bed and I'm reading and I'm studying. I wake up in the morning. I'm doing meditation. I'm doing my gratitude. I'm doing my affirmations. And I've been doing that for 43 and a half years. And I wouldn't even think of not doing it because, we live in a very interesting world where there's lots of challenges and lots of negativity. Just turn on your television or go stand in the lineup at the grocery store, right?
Yeah, or social media.
Social media, absolutely. And, we're taking it in. You see, everything that we take in, I've been studying, what's his name? Robert Collier, Secret of the Ages. And he says in that book, he says, everything that you've taken in through your senses, that's your sight, your hearing, has made an impression in your subconscious mind. And that's a fascinating idea, right? So since I
agree with that,
right? Since that's the case, you want to be taking in information that serves you, that's going to help you, that's going to contribute, not stuff that's going to poison your results. It's like if I put poison in your water, would you drink it? Of course not. Of course not. So why have poisonous ideas going on or thoughts in our mind or poisonous feelings that are just going to kill our dreams? Because that's exactly what they do.
So let me ask you, because I actually know a few people that have, all their lives, they've allowed it in. I agree with that. And they've been pushed back so far that their self-confidence is negative 1,000.
Right.
They have dreams and they talk themselves out of it before they even voice it to themselves because they've already determined they cannot do it. And now they're listening to you and going, okay, I understand what you're saying, but it's too late for me. It can never happen for me. I can't get out of this darkness. What would be your opinion for something like that?
Well, if you're breathing, it's not too late. I mean, that's my very short version, right? If you're
there
breathing,
it is.
It's not too late. Like I remember my mom, because my mom became very aware of the business that I got involved in. And at first it was like a joke. You're writing a book, like you're going to do what? But I didn't let it in. It's just like, that's interesting. You would think that way. And that's okay. Like, I'm not going to get emotionally involved in her thoughts. But what occurred was she started to ask if she could come to my events. And I remember her sitting in the back of the room one time and we were talking about goals and goal achievement. And that evening I was back at her home because I was staying with her. And I said to her, I said, so tell me what you wrote down. And she wrote down a number of goals. And it's like, wow, that was the first time in her life that she had ever written out a goal. But at the end of her list, she wrote this. And when all of this happens, I will be grateful. And I said, Mom, I said, this is wonderful, but you got it backward. You're grateful
Right.
first. You feel the gratitude now. You feel the gratitude in your heart as if it's already done. And then you're going to attract it into your life. And that sort of broke her patterns. But you absolutely have to make a commitment. I mean, it took me years to change my life and to change the way I was thinking, because I had a very, very dark, dark, destructive, poisonous mind. And I had to put the good in and continue to put the good in and continue to put the good in. And then the bad would come back in. It's like you're going forward, you're going backward, you're going forward, you're going backward, until I got to a point, it was like, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to stop the craziness and just focus on, what I desire and discipline myself. The moment I disciplined myself, everything changed.
I'll see you. Even when you were going through treatment, every once in a while, it was a little less into social media, but you still stay connected. Yes. I'll see you float by in social media. You have this going on, you have that going on. If somebody wants to follow you, if they want to be a part of your programs, maybe join a mastermind group or something that you're doing, how do they do that?
Easily. They just can go to everything that I do. And we always update the site. It's all at peggymccall.com. I mean, you want to find out what's going on, what our next event is, how we're serving people, free books that we give away. It's all at peggymccall.com.
So when Miss Peggy is not, inspiring the masses and hanging out with Tigo, what do you love to do to just let your hair down, have a good time? What do you love to do for fun?
Well, I love being with my grandchildren. I just love them to the moon and back. I mean, they're just so amazing. And I love playing with them, boating with them, like just biking with them, hanging out with them, swimming with them. And my husband too, of course. I'm very blessed. I'm happily married. And every once in a while we go golfing, but he goes golfing a lot more than I do. But those are my fun. My family is everything to me. Absolutely my priority.
I want to thank you so much for all that you do for me. You're amazing. Like I say, I tell everybody, I can send her a message and she'll get back to me as soon as she can. It may be 5 seconds, it may be 5 days, but you always come back. And when I ask you to come on, you're like, sure. And you make time. I thank you so much for hanging out with me, for coming to the Now Honors, for being our Woman of the Year for 2021. Miss Peggy McColl, you are definitely one of my mentors, and I am just privileged to be in your arena.
Well, you're so sweet. You're such a pro. I just love everything about you and everything that you do. And it really is a privilege for me to be here.
Thank you. I can't wait till next time. Maybe we do it in studio while you're in town. What do you think?
Done.
Ooh, elbow to elbow. Y'all, she said done. Ooh, live and in person. You'll see it. Don't worry about it. Thank you, Miss Peggy. You're the best.
Thank you, Theresa. See you soon.
See you soon. All right, everybody. If you know what to do, if you want to get in touch with her and you couldn't write it down, go to TigoDirect.com and you'll find Miss Peggy. Type in author, type in Peggy, type in mentor. She's coming up. She's going to be there. And as always, I'm Tigo. I'll talk to you next time.